You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that syndicates for the A-List Online. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and the interview subject I have coming up for you is very special. It is Mr. Eric Martin, the frontman for Mr. Big. Now, the reason for the conversation is to promote Eric's appearance in Australia with Tobia Sammet's Avantasia. There are 2 dates in all. Of course, they're in Sydney and Melbourne, so on the 12th of May, Sydney, you get your show at the Metro Theatre, and finally, Melbourne, you've got one on the 14th of May at the Forum. I do fan out a little bit through this conversation, so I hope you enjoy listening to it, actually, because Eric did open up quite a bit, and we covered a lot of ground over the 25 minutes or so that we had an opportunity to chat to each other. So I think this is very special, as I've already said, but I hope you enjoy it too. So here he is, Mr. Eric Martin.
Hello.
Here he is, Andrew Mackay-Smith calling, mate. How's Switzerland treating you?
Hey, man.
You're over in Switzerland, I take it. That's the area code there, is it?
I'm in Switzerland, yes. Been here. We played last night at a place called Z7. It's a nightclub, but, man, it holds like 2,500 people, maybe 3.
My God, okay.
Yeah, we played... Tonight will be the 3rd show in a row, and then we have another one. So, yeah, that's a big 4 in the row. But
okay.
these Z7 shows, the 2 are sold out, and the last one's pending, but fun to play a sold out show.
I bet, and of course.
So what's happening?
What is happening indeed? Well, I'm talking to the great Eric Martin for one thing, and I've got to.
You got me now.
Well, I've got to tell you, mate, this is really thrilling for me because I'm a covers musician, and I reckon I've played To Be With You almost as much as you have, if not more. The reason for that is because everybody loves it. And I don't mean to start off with nostalgia, mate, because I know we've got to talk about Avantasia.
It's my history, and I love playing that song. I'm really flattered that you did that, actually.
Yeah.
I think and if it made people happy, and you got people doing like a little sing-along with you over the years, yeah, I love it.
Yeah, we get
I'm honored.
Get like hens nights, when girls before they're getting married, they get the bridal party up on stage, and they do the full chorus thing. Man, you can't get them off afterwards, unfortunately, but during the song, it's a lot of fun, and it's one of those songs. I'm trying to think. The only other song that I know that gets the same pop is that Sonia Dada song, which I could never remember the name of. You Don't Treat Me No Good No More.
Me either.
You don't treat me, you don't treat me no, is it Mother, you don't treat me no good some more. God, as soon as I finish the call, I'll know what it's bloody called. But the thing is, when you play covers, you know the songs by the melody, not what they're called. Can you appreciate that?
Right. Oh, man, you're a lifer. God, I've sung To Be With You. I remember I was in India, and I sang it, and it's a weird song for a wedding, but there was, like, most of the people in this city that I played, it was a city called Shillong, which is like maybe about 500 miles from the Pakistan border. It's way up in the mountains. They call it the Scotland of India or something. It's
all right.
India's super hot, but this one area it's kind of up there, so it's cooler. And the whole city kind of got married to be with you. So
you got to love it. You got to love it.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. It's been, Andrew, dude, it's been 28 years since Lean Into It came out.
Yeah.
And To Be With You has lasted really long time. I mean, I wrote it when I was a kid, and then to have it be a number 1 single back in '92 in 15 countries, and it seems cliche to say it's the gift that keeps on giving, but it's the gift that keeps on giving, man. it's. I have people, like friends of mine that'll just send me a video of them listening to "You're on the radio." I'm like, yeah, it still gets me. Like even last night. Okay, this is kind of a whoring out moment. Right. But last night after the show, it was 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and me and one of the guitar players for Avantasia, this guy Sasha Payeth, who's also the producer, him and I and his girlfriend, and Adrienne Cohen, who's kind of a breakout star in Avantasia. She's 24 years old.
Yeah. Yep.
I call her Kitten with a Whip. She's got this growly kind of husky voice, but she's got also this angelic, silky, smooth voice as well. But anyway, the four of us went out searching for a Guinness, and so the lady goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, we're going to close." And Sasha goes, as a joke, he goes, "Hey, this guy's in Mr. Big." And she goes, "What, like to be with you?" And so, yep, I sang a little piece of "To Be With You," and got a free beer.
Nice.
Woohoo! Life is good.
Life is good, mate. It's cut like that. It deserves to open some doors for you, and that's the thing. I mean, I hope you know down here in Australia, mate. I reckon if you listened to all of the FM stations, and we don't have too many down here, but if you listen to all of the FM stations or recorded them over a 24-hour period, I'd place money that you're going to hear "To Be With You." Every day, it's going to be on somewhere in Australia. So do you know that
my ex-wives have got the royalty statements? I know.
Oh yes. Oh God, yeah.
I know, that's so sad. Yeah, I mean, and there were other songs too by Mr. Big, but "To Be With You," that was just the biggest hit I've ever had, and I don't. I guard it with my life. I love singing it. It never gets old. It's just it's a big part of my it put me on the map. So anyway, it put me it got the mad genius Tobia Sammet to look my way. So and get me in Avantasia. So
well, that's an interesting segue actually, because you certainly, I'm a massive fan, as you can appreciate, of your work and Mr. Big's work, a massive fan of Paul Gilbert. I'm a bassist, so you can imagine what I think about Billy's work. And I'm sorry to hear about your friend as well, your drummer friend, Pat, passing away last year.
Yeah. That's kind of if you were going to ask me if there's any Mr. Big music on the horizon, I would say no at the moment. But I mean, we're still processing his death. He died, and then he was sick for a long time, and we had a sub drummer with us, this guy Matt Starr, and Pat played like a kind of a cocktail kit on the side of the drums. But he was singing great, and he's been my harmony partner. Billy and Paul, Paul would take a really low one, and Billy would take a really high part. But me and Pat, he was my Paul McCartney to John Lennon vibe. He was there for me, and so when he passed, we had Australia on the books. When we toured there with Extreme, and so to play, I thought we did great, but to not have him there, it was surreal. And then we went off to Southeast Asia, and I think we played some festivals in Europe, and it was overwhelming for everybody in the band. I mean, everybody in the band, God, it's so weird to say that. So me and Billy and Paul, we discussed it. I said, I wouldn't mind doing another album and get, some drummers that Pat admired, and maybe put them on this record. And it was just too much work for everybody.
Yeah, I bet.
Everybody was just still grieving. So anyway, I just wanted to get that out of the way.
No, cool. No, thanks for sharing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess just back to the Avantasia thing, you certainly weren't the first person I thought of when it came down to collaborators. It was really, I think it shows Tobias's strategy and how open-minded he is about including musicians. And he really gets the musicianship, which is what I really appreciate about his work. And I think I've had at least one chat to him, maybe two, but we talk about all sorts of things. But, the nature of these phone calls is you only get sort of 15, 20 minutes or so before they've got to be wound up, so you can't ask everything, unfortunately. But it was really cool to see you included in the Avantasia thing, because what I think it's going to do is it's going to give a lot of younger and impressionable listeners and people in the audience an opportunity to get into your music. And your music is so thoroughly worth getting into. I mean, if you're a big rock and roll fan, a song like Green Tinted 60s Mine, I mean, that's where it's at, especially when you guys do it live, the stuff that I can see on YouTube. But that's what I really hope it does for you, is that, especially because Tobias is really associated with heavy metal, capital H, capital M, heavy metal, and a lot of these more extreme acts on the Nuclear Blast roster. So I think you're going to see fans with like Possessed T-shirts and Thy Art Is Murder T-shirts. These deathcore and
you do hear Andrew. I mean, it's a sea of black shirts, but But over the years, like I wasn't part of the metal opera stuff, 10 years ago. This audience is kind of a mixed breed. It kind of reminds me of a Journey audience or something. There's young and old, men and women, and you still see a sea of black shirts, and they just love the mainstay song, Twisted Mind and the Shelter from the Rain. It is metal, but it's metal and melody. Mm-hmm. Every one of his songs have this. I mean, it runs the gamut. It's got Celtic, folk, rock, kind of pop, soul. You're welcome. And
right there.
and rock and definitely heavy metal. I mean, there's some speed metal in there too.
Yeah.
But that's funny that Tobias does. He's the mad genius. I mean, he does all these singers that he has influenced him in some ways. Like he loves Bob Catley from the band Magnum. I mean, Bob's he's a national treasure. He's always talked about being influenced by Bob's in the progressive world, and then Ronnie Atkins from Pretty Maids. I mean, he's kind of the more angrier metal guy on the stage, but he definitely has a soulful side to him. And then Jorn Lande, who's stepped up to be, if you're part of the metal world, Michael Kiske was our kind of second in command, if you will.
Yep.
And he's gone to do Halloween stuff. Yep. And Jorn Lande has stepped up in that role. And it definitely has this grandiose, epic, opus, 8-minute, 10-minute songs, some of them. But, and it's a 3-hour opera, rock opera, whatever. It's not like the traditional opera. There's nobody narrating or anything, or you're not going to see like Brunhilde with blonde pigtails and a gold helmet with horns and a lightning bolt. Yep. It's not like that at all. But it's all these great singers that you said great. Okay, now I'm saying great, and I'm part of it. I don't want to sound like I'm like full of myself.
Let's talk it up. Well, you're part of it, mate. I mean, I think I love talking to artists like you, man. I've done almost 400 of these at this point, and people like, I know I'm talking to you, but the Eric Martins of the world need to be aware, man, that you're massively influential. Even if you don't get that much copy these days compared to what you got, say, in the early 90s, you are continuously influential. People are picking up Mr. Big Records or even Edguy Records. They're picking these albums up, and they're becoming... The thing about you, man, and I hope you know this, people listen to you and make decisions to become a musician. Do you know how important that is?
Dude, we're becoming fast friends.
Well, it's truth, man.
No. I never really think about that, but now I'm thinking about it, and I better start walking the straight and narrow. It makes me feel good hearing that kind of stuff. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
But yeah. So getting back to Toby, I got to get off my high horse here. Getting back to Toby, the fact that he's had all these great singers and he's also got an incredible band. This guy's Sasha Payeth, Oliver Hartman, Andre. Okay, this is going to be hard to say. Nagenfeind, German guys.
Close,
get
close enough.
Right.
If not,
and then the best of all, Felix Ponka,
who's
on drums, who also plays with him in That Guy, and he plays with Jeff Tate. But
Well, he's on the show
and
as
then,
well,
yeah, that's
isn't
another thing too. Jeff Tate is out here with us from Queensryche, and I get to sing with this guy. He's in the next room right next to me. He's probably got a glass up against the wall right now, listening to me talk about him.
He could be
Hold on
jealous.
for a minute. Can you hear me, Jeff? Can you hear me? Okay. Fantastic.
Anything back? Did he knock back? No.
He didn't knock back. No, his wife is here. He's probably shoot. I probably interrupted him. That's not cool.
Hey, mate.
Sorry.
I better do a time check. I was led to. John told me I had 15 minutes or so. Do you have?
You have plenty of time.
Sweet.
You're my. I've done 3, and you have plenty of time, man.
All right. Okay. So
I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying in the same hotel for 3 days because of playing this one. 3 sold out shows here in Switzerland. Life is grand, man.
I bet.
I don't even. Yeah.
I mean, you're living the dream, and you've still got the passion, the fire.
I do. All right, hold on there, Copernicus or whatever. You sound like you sound like some of the lyrics in this song. The passion and the fire.
Oh yeah.
Of Narcissus.
Power metal. All the way.
Yeah, I do. I love going to work. I'll tell you what I don't like though. 14 men in one dressing room.
Oh God, yeah.
And then right next door we have two incredible female singers, and they get this gigantic room with flowers and all kinds of stuff, and our room smells like
like dudes.
Gymnasium locker. Anyway.
Yep. Yeah. Well, the thing is,
I love hanging out with these guys. I love the camaraderie and I love the crew too. They're a bunch of knuckleheads, but I love them.
Yeah. Well, what gives you the stamina and I guess the other question is the creative. Where's this boundless creativity come from with you? I mean, you've had a very well received solo career that dates back 34 years. We've already spoken about Mr. Big. Along the way, you've had collaborations with Michael Bolton and UFO. You're one of the few that have done the UFO thing. You've got Uncle Ted in there as well, Ted Nugent, and of course Sammy Hagar back in 1997.
Right.
Probably a bunch there that I've missed, but what do you attribute this boundless creativity that you seem to have?
Man, it's so simple. When I was a kid, I got to do what I dreamed. I wanted this, who wouldn't want this gig? I mean, look, you've done it. You said you play a bunch of covers and stuff like that.
Yep.
Cover bands, and then you probably had some original bands.
Yeah, exactly.
There's just nothing like it. It's my view. Like last night, I was standing on we have all kinds of risers and castles and all kinds of stuff up on this set, and I'm like way above the crowd on this one thing, and the lights kind of come up and look. I also don't mind working for it either. I don't like when it comes too easy. I'm not painting by numbers here. I work.
Yeah.
I work really hard to get the crowd going, and that's kind of a thing. It's like a blind date when you go out there. You wine and dine them, and by the end of the night, you just had sex with them. Thanks. That's creepy, but like I like making people happy. I like the spirit that rock and roll has. There's just no other. I can't imagine doing anything else. I just love what I do, and it's part. There's an ego thing into it too. I mean, I love when Eric, can I have an autograph? Eric, can I take a picture? It just doesn't get old. I love it.
That's interesting. That's great.
That's a fun little silly part of it, and I love. I've enjoyed singing with Mr. Big and doing solo stuff, but this Avantasia thing is cool because, I get to share my toys with these incredible singers. I would have never been able to be on stage or sing duets with like a guy like Jeff Tate or Jorn Landy. I mean, we come from different worlds. It would be, no one would put us in this situation except to be a Sammet.
Yes, agreed. Yeah.
It's like you're up there and you're battling with the singer. You're singing. we're looking at each other, grunting and busting out soul chops, and then the audience is like egging us on. It's kind of cool. It's like being in the boxing ring.
So have you been exposed to just
Here you are, like, okay. Is that the way you want to describe it?
Well, no.
Hey, look, I can't think of anything else. I just know that I absolutely love what I do, and it's so, my view every night is just glowing faces,
I can imagine. I mean, to your point earlier, I've got the most that I've played in front of is probably 2,000 or 3,000 people. In Australia, we've got these things out in the bush called B&S balls, where a lot of young men and women get together and do what young men and women do when they get together, and you play on a flatbed truck to a lot of people yelling and throwing things at you. It's a bit like that scene out of Bloody Roadhouse. But it's so much fun.
That sounds fun. That kind of reminds me of that AC/DC, like when they didn't
Highway.
Like,
yeah, what was the song down in
Long
Melbourne?
Way to the Top, if you want to rock and roll, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's the one. Yeah, they did that.
Yeah.
But it's not. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. So I've had that interaction with people who they're staring at you. I get a small slice of what you must experience nightly. Every once in a while, because usually playing covers, I'm playing to about 20 people. That's just the nature of the business in Australia, unless you're doing those bloody tribute shows that are going around at the moment, like the Creedence Clearwater show, or I reckon there's about 100 AC/DC tribute shows in Australia at the moment, but I point blank refuse to join it.
Can you imagine? There's no hunters and collectors tribute show? There's got to be.
Funny you should mention it. We tried to do an 80s and 90s Australian thing where we played a lot of hunters and collectors stuff, but there's probably just not the demand for them as a standalone band at this point. There probably will be soon, I reckon, the next 10 years, because a lot of that music's entering into so-called classic rock territory now. A lot of that Oz rock from that era. Cold Chisel. You probably know all of these artists.
I love Jimmy Barnes.
Oh, great! Yeah.
Cold Chisel. I was thinking of that's Jimmy Barnes, but there was another guy that I just absolutely loved, Johnny Diesel.
Oh, Johnny Diesel.
Johnny, or
he's fantastic.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
I loved his voice. There's a lot of Australian artists that are not, I like Jet, and then they went away. What happened?
I don't know what happened to them. It's a good point. Nick Chester, I think, I don't know, he had some ideas about going solo. I actually think Jet are back together, but Nick is going solo as well now. I could be wrong, but I think that's what's happened. God knows, it's probably a contractual thing. You know how these things are, mate, But yeah,
hey, check this out.
Yeah.
I played, when I was younger, and we're talking 1978, I opened to AC/DC's first trip to San Francisco. It's up there. Go look at it. It could be their second American trip, but I'm pretty sure that this is the first time they played in San Francisco. I was in a band called Kid Courage, and we played 2 nights with them. But that wasn't the first Australian band I played with. I played with a band called Angel City. You ever heard of that?
Yeah, they're actually you're right. In America, they're called Angel City, but in Australia, they're called The Angels. And there was already a band called The Angels in the US, so they had to change their name. I'm sure that was the case. You're talking the singer was called Doc Neeson. I'm pretty sure
I'm
pretty sure that's what they had to do. Is AC/DC, I think, if I'm not mistaken, were about the only band to really break out of Australia and really make it big in the US during that period. In excess as well, of course.
I beg to differ.
Who's the other one?
Olivia Newton-John, man.
Oh, man.
Come on.
How could I forget? Well,
Don't try to mess with me. You're messing with the danger. All right.
Well, I'll tell you something. I've had to play Let's Get Physical many times, and I've got to tell you, I rate it. I get looked at as though I'm a weirdo when I say that, but I was a bassist. I love playing it because I can play it on the 5-string and I can get right down underneath it. Really carry that groove for the ladies that are dancing.
Yeah.
That's there's a few Aussie artists that sort of made it out, but it's just it's just hard when you're not from the US or from Europe, I think, as you can probably pick up. It's a lot of Australian bands do try, but they run out of money, or they don't have the right advice or something like that. But we have a pretty good domestic scene here, it must be said. There's a lot of people that do support Australian music and go out of their way to do that.
I have.
Well, I can tell, mate. Cold Chisel, geez. Do you have a favourite Cold Chisel cut or song?
No, I don't. I feel bad.
Well,
Can't remember. I mean, like you caught me on the spot. Don't make me reach for my laptop. Don't make me do it.
Check out Saturday Night. Saturday Night by Cold Chisel's my favourite. About my favourite Aussie song, we've got to say.
I think
Beautiful
I
song.
must have heard that one.
Yeah, beautiful song.
I mean, look. I mean, when I was a kid, Little River Band was on the radio all the time. So but when I was a kid, before you were born, son, we should wrap
I'm in
it
my
up now
40s.
since I'm starting to talk about my age.
Yeah, all right. Well, no, look, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I guess my final question would be, I've loved everything we've spoken about, so are you cool if I release it as a part of my podcast series?
Yeah, I'm totally cool. I thought that's what we were doing.
Cool. Oh, that's cool.
Go
I'd just
for it.
like to ask permission, that's all, because, occasionally I get a no, so I thought, no, I'll always ask, especially an artist of your profile, mate.
No, I don't think I thought I spoke clearly. I was semi-intelligent. Yeah, you have a yes.
I've got a good episode. This is going to be one of those ones that I think will stick around for a couple of years, actually. So good on you, mate. I mean, the episode. I interview some really interesting people, and some of the episodes just live lives of their own, and you're just constantly getting feedback from them. And I think this is going to be one of those, man. So look, thanks so much for your time, and thank you so much for doing what you're doing. And I really hope these gigs in Australia go well with Avantasia.
Thank you, Andrew. Thanks for the compliments as well, man. That really, you definitely made my day today. Thank you.
Oh, pleasure, mate. My pleasure. No worries at all. And all the very best.
All right.
No worries.
Okay. All right, kid. See ya.
Thanks, mate. Catch ya. You have been listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that syndicates for the A-List Online. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith, and that interview subject was none other than Eric Martin from the outfit Mr. Big, who's also appearing in Australia in Tobia Sammet's Avantasia through May. Thank you so much for listening.